Welcome to the Albemarle County Electoral Board meeting. This is our regular meeting for May 14th, 2026. I'm establishing a quorum. Note the presence of all the electoral board members, as well as the registrar, our elections manager, and our council. So I put to the board first. Are we satisfied with the agenda? Any changes anyone wants to make?
That looks good to me.
Okay. And brief announcements from the board and registrar. Does anyone have any announcements to make? None from the chair.
I do not.
I don't.
I would like to announce that we have the early voting hot wash on Monday. It's going to be in room B and from 6 to 8 p.m. and all of the chiefs and the assistant chiefs have been invited
From early voting.
from early voting.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman.
You're right in front of me. The next thing is public comment. And I see a hand in the air.
Well, no, I was gonna thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was gonna thank your registrar. I don't think that Albemarle's ever done an early voting chiefs hot wash. Maybe I missed it. I don't think so.
It was an idea made way before I got here.
It's a great idea.
Yes.
I mean,
This has been driven by the chiefs and assistant chiefs and others in early voting. So kudos to them.
I think Kent Schlessel kind of started the ball rolling on this.
On this one, yes, absolutely.
Any other public comment items? I see a hand up. Rick, you've got your hand in the air. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I just want to make a couple of comments or suggestions about the assistant chief training modules. They're great. I've taken them, Karen's taken them, and they're really, really good. One suggestion, though, is I think they might need to be sold heavier in order to get more participation. So one suggestion, it would be not cost you anything, is maybe once a month, send an email to all the election officers, just saying, hey, we have this program, just to publicize it more, to maybe get more people to participate. The other suggestion is, I think the emphasis on assistant chiefs having to step in at the last minute and serve as chiefs may be keeping people from signing up. Because I know an awful lot of the assistant chiefs that I know have no interest in being a chief. And I think a lot of the new people maybe wouldn't either. So a suggestion to think about is, could we assign a chief not to be on a precinct, but to be the person who's responsible for filling in at the last minute? This would need to be an experienced chief who could drop in at the last minute. And that way you wouldn't put that pressure on new assistant chiefs. I know you would have to have it would basically be a floater. They would not be assigned to a regular precinct, but be for that election, they'd be assigned to be the last minute person if there was a need. If there's no need, they wouldn't work. Just a suggestion for y'all to think about.
We kind of have that in Kent Schlessel. As we move him around.
Kent was exactly the kind of person I was thinking about, because I think Kent has said many times he really doesn't want to continue being a chief, but he would fill in. And that's the kind of person that I was thinking, someone who's very experienced, could really get in at the last minute and not have a problem handling a precinct. I know it would be having a little more bench strength on the chief side, but I think it would help a lot to perhaps get more people to sign up to be assistant chiefs.
Thank you for the suggestion.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? All right, we will move on. Jim, I don't think we got any minutes for this because you've been out.
I apologize for not having any minutes, but I have been ill since April 11th, and this and that and this and that, and I just have not felt up to sitting in front of my computer and typing the dang things up. So I apologize.
We'll carry that forward to the next meeting. Old business. Jill, have we spent money?
We have spent money.
You have a sense of what we spent on the election?
I do.
Those are good.
Had to go to the 14-inch paper. One for inside.
Has Elect given us a chance to apply for their measly $5.2 million or whatever?
Absolutely. The total that we had last time was about 137,000. So when I added a few more charges for January to March, plus all of the April charges, we end up with 234,329 and 39. And I still have a few more charges to add.
And this is just the election
This is
costs?
just the election.
This doesn't cover your normal staff,
No, I
expenses,
didn't
things
do
like that.
I
Wow.
did not include
Heavy sigh. Anything else on this topic?
that. No.
Any questions? All right, we'll move right along. That's okay.
May I ask a question? So how does this look relative to prior, let's say, primaries or special elections? Does anybody know what the comparison?
I'd have to go back and
Okay.
put that together.
The board would have no way of knowing.
I could put that together.
Well, I mean,
I have made the point to people that the public, the Supreme Court, and the General Assembly do not understand that the cost of putting on an election, an April referendum, is much different than the cost of putting on a presidential election. And I don't think that that's understood by those out there.
Well, they allocated $5 million for it, Jim. What makes you think they didn't understand?
So Valerie, I can compare it to primary in August. Oh, I can do that. Yeah, because I plan to do the same thing.
All right. Alex, EO assignments and EOs assigned to their home precinct.
Yeah, another report, but I actually can say from the report, I gathered some.
I'm sorry,
information.
you don't have the report?
I don't have it printed out, but I wrote my notes and everything, so I'll explain what my notes said on there.
Okay.
But I'll send it to you guys virtually. So I gave precincts the opportunity to voice if they wanted to work at their home precincts or not for this past election. 25 precincts turned in their documents and paperwork, and I went through that and checked. A lot of people are at their home precincts right now, so they kind of like to be where they are. Some people don't really want to be moved. But I did get a couple people, I found 20 people who want to be at their home precincts coming this August.
25 returns, you only got 20 people?
Yeah, like 20 precincts.
Yeah. 25 precincts reporting, you got 20 people. It's far less than I thought.
20 people that said they would like to go to their home precinct.
Correct.
And the 5 precincts who didn't respond?
I'm going to follow up with them. I'm waiting on their chiefs to respond back.
Anything else on this? Janelle?
Okay, so for the security plan, have 3 deadlines, which have passed already. What I did was I sent you all, the document's too big to print out. Well, it's not too big to print out, but I thought you'd prefer it electronically. So I sent it to everybody electronically, and I also sent you the letterhead. So because what you'll need to do on the 28th is you will not,
The document you have,
the document I have.
the spreadsheet,
Yes, the spreadsheet.
is not what we will be submitting, is not what we do for the security.
No, you don't submit it at all. They did do is you do a certification.
Right, but the
Yes.
security plan is a separate document from that. It's actually a Word document.
Oh, I don't have it then.
I'll send you a copy of
That
the
would be
previous
great.
one.
Yes, that would be great.
It won't have changed much.
Okay, gotcha.
I've been trying to keep it updated, but we've updated our inventory of which machines we have and those kinds of things.
Okay,
But I'll send it to you and we can kibitz on it certainly well before August.
and then I also sent you the letterhead also.
I saw that.
Yes.
And Jim was looking for a small change to that. It's probably something can we edit that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we can,
Yeah, the part that you see at the top and the bottom, it's just the header and the footer. So you just go into it.
Yeah, I just asked that the footer be changed to our positions, chair, vice chair, secretary, that the first letter be capitalized.
Sure.
yeah, easy to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks for getting out in front of that. And I will send you a copy of the Word document.
Okay, thank you.
Alex and Jim, I'm gonna guess that you have not had a chance to do anything with the
Yes.
disposition of old board materials. All right. That takes us into new business. Changes in election law. There have been a few. Let me see if I can share this presentation on the screen. There we go.
All right. Thank you.
Is it all right if we just, for the purpose of the minutes, say that Andrea presented a report on changes in the election law?
Absolutely. Whatever we create as minutes, I can always append the slideshow to it too.
So, just two pointers. First, this wanted to give an update on the recent referendum that we had. The Supreme Court of Virginia last week issued an opinion and determined that the way that the election was structured and set up was not constitutional. So, right now, as of this moment, the existing map that was in place last year and the year before and year before that is the map that will be governing in November. I say this moment because the Democrats have petitioned the Supreme Court of the United States to review the case. They are not obligated to review. They have the opportunity to take the case up or not. But because the opinion from the Supreme Court came out just at the very end of last week, it was just noted up for appeal to the Supreme Court. I haven't heard yet whether or not they're going to take it up. I'm inclined to say they're probably not going to take it up. But I will.
And if they do, they're
they're,
gonna say,
I would tend to agree with that as well, Jim. So I think the old map is the map, or the existing map, not the map, is the map going forward. So it does look like we had a rather expensive endeavor for not. But that is what the Supreme Court said. So the other thing before diving in, the General Assembly this year made a lot of changes to election law. I, by no stretch of the imagination, covered everything in this presentation because we would be here until the end of the day. And I did not want to hold you all hostage. So if there are questions or if there are things that I didn't cover and we need to do a follow-up session, I can do maybe a more brief and pointed update in June. So here's what we're going to talk about, just kind of a list of themes that happened with the General Assembly. There was a lot of things about election administration and board duties. So because you all are the board, I want to make sure that you understand your duties and responsibilities. There was a lot of updates with respect to voter registration and list maintenance, as well as absentee and provisional ballot processes. I need to read this to you, but polling place regulations and ballot counting, candidate filing and confidentiality. And then I do want to point, this hasn't been effectively changed yet, but there are going to be 3 constitutional amendments on the ballot in November. So I just want to make sure that you all are aware of what those are.
and one of those is now part of a lawsuit.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
The one on reproductive rights.
Okay. I'm not aware of that. So I will.
That was just on the news yesterday. The language of the constitutional amendment has been
Okay.
challenged.
Okay.
Do they use the word fair?
All right, so the first section we'll talk about is election administration, specifically board duties and risks. So just so you all are aware, there has been changes in how elect can remove local electoral board members. There needs to be a public hearing. The state elect board needs to pass or decide to remove with a 2/3 vote. The grounds for removal include neglect of duties, misuse of office, incompetence, or a clear indication of refusal to perform duties. So what's important to note here is that the decision is final. There is an appeals process, but it goes through the Administrative Procedures Act, which is very complicated. And elect will be coming out and establishing actual hearing procedures. So, I think, just to be aware of this, it could expand the list of things that could be grounds for removal.
The bottom line is if you get a rogue board, there's a way to
Yeah.
get them out of there.
Absolutely. And that was kind of a theme that's kind of happened persistently throughout, which actually leads us directly into this slide. So House Bill 78 made the certification of election results a non-discretionary ministerial duty for a board. If a board refuses to certify, that does constitute grounds for removal. You can be subject to a civil penalty of up to $2,000. And then if the local board refuses to certify the election, the state board can come in and certify. So, you don't do it, you can face penalty, and then the state board's going to do it anyways. So take from that what you will. Elect.
This was the one we were waiting for.
No, this is the big one, right? Elect is going to be issuing ID badges to board members. They must be worn on election day while you're performing your duties. They're going to have your name, locality, position, and the term expiration date on them. There is a small penalty if you knowingly fail to wear your badge, up to $250.
Governor wrote this down. It was $1,000 in the original bill.
It was $1,000. It was quite a hefty fine. So
Did they say where you have to wear it?
it did not. It was so if you want to find that one, I won't.
I hear.
I wasn't able to discern any explanation of what problem this was solving.
None.
Me
That was my
neither.
question.
Me neither. And it seemed odd. It was a really, really short bill. I have a feeling it was just someone's pet project that, didn't seem to face a lot of opposition. So there was a question over here.
Yes, this is Louis Jones. Can you explain the word normally failing to wear? What does that mean?
That would be you've been given a badge, you have to wear it, and it's election day, and you say, I'm not listening to what the General Assembly says. I don't think I put it on.
And it fell off in
around
my
doing
car.
things. It fell off. That I would not be a knowingly refusal to wear. That would be an accidental or neglectful failure to wear. It would hopefully.
I don't know what the word means.
If you run up and grab Jim's badge, he's not immediately subject to a $250 fine.
This is a big one. House Bill 909. It makes the all in-person absentee voting locations are subject to the same conduct rules that polling places and precincts are subject to on election day. So that's, loitering or solicitation or any influencing voters. So that is now the law of the land. The other thing that it does is it expands the firearm free zone. It's no longer the 40 feet, it's 100 feet from the door. All other conduct is restricted still at the 40 feet. So this may impact signage for how we display things. So
This particular one didn't say we had to post a sign. It just said that was, but if elect comes up and says we have to post a sign, we may need to look at our tape measures to see if they're all 100-foot tape measures.
yeah, it's interesting that we have kind of like this double buffer line, and it does apply to polling places, registrar's office, canvas meetings, really any place that election.
But it shouldn't apply to schools where firearms are already prohibited. Yes, no?
I mean, candidly, county buildings, our county at least has enacted legislation or has an ordinance that says that firearms are not permitted on county buildings, but that's not necessarily the law everywhere. So, it doesn't necessarily change anything with respect to schools, but it is now the law. So it might be more of a restriction or a regulation without having much of an impact, at least with respect to schools. The next section, this was also a really big area, was voter registration maintenance. The cancellation of registrations, it's really tightened up. What can happen before cancellation can happen. Notice generally has to be provided to the voter before the registration be canceled. There's a 14-day window where people can come back and they can dispute the cancellation. One thing that it does is it prevents the removal of active duty military, overseas voters, and then their eligible spouses and dependents from being removed from the list. So provides some extra protection for that category of individuals.
So, not sure I understand that one. So somebody comes into the office here
Mhm.
and says, I'm moving to Arizona, please cancel my registration.
That's not affected. That one's allowed.
It's not
Yeah,
affected.
this is if you're gutting the list, right? Because,
It's more of a purge issue.
correct.
And a person who fills out an application in Arizona and said they were previously registered in Virginia, well, I guess that goes through elect to get to us anyway, so.
Yeah, and there's another bill that we're gonna talk about in just a couple of minutes, that's gonna require us joining Eric, which
We don't have to do anything about
Right.
it.
yeah, so, that will help with facilitate, the communication between the states as to who's registered or who's moved. So, and Jim, that's a good point, and I can provide you more information on that. But again, just because I wanted to give a higher level summary on this, but there were a lot of provisions in there. If someone comes in and like self-authenticates and says, "Hey, I'm moving to Arizona," that cancellation is not going to be subject to this. But it's if we get a list from wherever, that information that first of all has to come from a Department of Elections approved source, and then there's also like special qualifier. I think we're gonna have to recycle this. It's sticking.
It's very old.
Can you advance the slide?
That's a good question. I
Think if you just click it.
There it is.
Yeah, so actually here's the where I was just referencing with Eric, the Department of Elections we have to join, so it's going to help facilitate that communication between the states. And then any third-party voter approved memorandum of understanding has to be approved by a 2/3 vote of the state board. So there's going to be a lot more oversight about who's being removed from voter rolls. It has to come from very specific sources before that can happen. There's requirements that special unique identifiers have to be included on cancellation requests. So it's not just a straight. I don't know if any of that was happening here, but
No, the state's done is centralized more control for
absolutely.
these activities.
Can you?
Just say click and I'll move forward.
This one is not effective until next July, so it has a delayed effective date. Typically, when the General Assembly passes new laws, they're effective the July 1 of the year that they were passed, unless they provide for a delayed effective date or some other effective date. Again, and this kind of just back to Bucky's point about centralizing and providing additional state oversight for list maintenance, standardizing identification data for list maintenance sources. There's a confidence score that's assigned for certain record matches, and a record has to have a certain confidence score in it before it can be relied upon to remove people. So again, it's going to be a new regulation and a new lot of oversight. Yeah, here notice that the important thing here is that notice must be sent to voters before the cancellation, including any citizenship or felony based cancellation. So it's again more control. So we can click ahead. Oh, and one more thing on that, I'm sorry. There is an annual review of all the data sources that can be relied upon. So elect will be updating and providing that list.
SAVE, an acronym for?
SAVE is an acronym for, I will pull that for you.
Systematic, if I may, may I answer?
Sure.
Systematic alien verification for benefits.
Okay.
It's done through the DMV.
Thank you. Right, okay, so this is one of the constitutional amendments that will be before voters in November. This allows for the automatic restoration of voting rights when people are released from incarceration. So someone's convicted of a crime, they go to jail, they serve their time, they're released, their voting rights, if this constitutional amendment passes, their voting rights will be restored upon release. The Department of Corrections is supposed to notify registrars as people are released so that individuals are eligible to register pretty much immediately upon their release from incarceration.
The constitutional amendment differentiates violent felonies. It doesn't.
No.
And then the other thing that's important to note on this is that they're very specific in what incarceration means. So incarceration means you're in a facility. So if you're released early and you're on parole or on probation, you are available and you can register to vote. All right. In advance, we'll talk about absentee and provisional ballots next. This is going to be a big one for you all. In addition to the Saturday early voting, we're now required to have Sunday early voting as well. The second and third Sunday before election day, and the polling place must, or excuse me, the precinct must be open for a minimum of 5 hours between the hours of 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. You can obviously elect to have additional Sundays. You've always had the availability to have Sunday hours if you've wanted them, so that's not changing, but we are now required to make some Sunday voting available as part.
I didn't see any hint, but I expect one day we'll get to midnight voting. It's like folks who want to, vote late at night too.
Get the night shift people in their
Yeah,
voting.
exactly.
So this is, and I had heard some conversation about this one before, kind of internally, not internally here, but just from other registrars that I know that this was kind of a point of contention. So as of right now, absentee ballots, provisional ballots, absentee ballots have to be received by noon the third day after the election. It's going to extend that deadline to 5 p.m. on the third day after the election. That's also now going to be the deadline for provisional voters to provide certification of their identification and then also to cure any absentee ballot errors. So I do think, I'm sorry to say that the third day after the election might also now be a later evening. So depending on what kind of response we receive.
And
What's
this,
changed about that?
what's changed?
Two
Used to be 1 p.m.
Noon.
It's being new.
I mean noon. This doesn't address the issue of curing provisional ballots.
No, there's another.
That's another piece of code.
Okay.
You can. Right, so is this what you were talking about, Jen?
No, this is absentees,
Okay.
provisionals.
So this is absentee ballots. You can have, the deadline now is the Monday after election day to cure any deficiencies in the absentee ballot. This also, Janelle, is important for you because registrars are required to promptly notify voters of correctable issues. Nope.
It's 3.
No, it does not. I would say if that's what currently promptly is, that's probably still what promptly is, but. And it does allow you, this bill also allows you to issue a replacement absentee ballot. So Jim, here's I think what you're talking about. This is extending and allows provisional ballots. Voters can cure errors until noon on the Monday after election day. Elect is supposed to be issuing some uniform procedures that will help facilitate and administer this. Including those provisional ballots cast by same-day registrants. So, and Janelle, here too, the registrars are required to review for material omissions and then again promptly notify voters if there's a material omission.
So two comments on this. One, it doesn't take effect till next year.
Correct.
The second is the second bullet there. If the error affects their same day registration, and we have to have the same day registrations entered by Friday at 5. Fixing that by noon on Monday after the election day that's just, they're incompatible requirements.
Yeah, I mean, and I think in that case, the distinction might be, is the error with the registration or is the error with the ballot?
They're looking at the ballot. Can't open the ballot till we've decided to accept the vote.
Controlling information.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. That will be a fun one to work
Yeah.
through.
It's Elect's problem, not ours.
You can click. This bill, House Bill 774, Senate Bill 582, they were identical, eliminates the requirements that ballots be received by the Friday before election day to be cured. So anytime they're received, they can be cured. And again, Janelle, here is just that prompt notification requirement. You can provide cure instructions by email, which is an interesting thing. I don't know if you currently do
We've done that.
You've done that.
Yes.
And then again, just reiterating that they cure ballots, cure the issues until the noon on the Monday after the election. So yeah. Absentee ballot list must be updated daily, showing acceptance, rejection, and ballot status. If the ballot's rejected, it has to be noted in the voter's record and must send notification of the rejection to the voter within 90 days. So to make sure that we're able to fix that. This free access system, I believe that's going to be made available to you all through Elect. So there'll be some additional guidance coming out on that as well.
I like the part where the local electoral board must send written notice of absentee ballot rejection within 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you can click ahead. So House Bill 640 eliminates the ability for in-person voter challenges at polling places and at the registrar's office. Any challenge has to be brought in circuit court and it has to be signed by 3 qualified voters. The challenged voter is given 15 days notice, and then the court's going to make a summary decision. So that means there's not going to be a jury or anything like that. The court's just going to kind of take in whatever evidence and they will be there. So that is that one.
That certainly will affect the affirmation of eligibility form. Because
Still have to
half
rewrite
that
the form,
form is
challenging the voter.
challenging the voter.
And I spoke with Bucky about this one, which will have kind of a significant impact on how I think we do things. This will be effective on September 1. Any machine readable ballot has to be counted by a ballot scanner. It can't be counted by hand. There's only allowed hand count if the scanner is inoperable, if there's no backup scanner available, and if waiting for repair or delivery of an alternative scanner is unreasonable. So, you got to be down and can't have an alternative to hand count. What's interesting here is that if there's a damaged or defective machine readable ballot, the ballot has to be duplicated by a bipartisan team and then substituted for the original. So we'll have one member of each party, obviously, will duplicate the ballot and it'll be run. The duplicates have to be clearly labeled as duplicates and then cross-referenced with the damaged ballot. Now, the question that we don't have an answer to at this moment is what do we do with the original ballot after it's been duplicated? So that.
How do you cross-reference it with the original ballot?
Right.
Yeah, so we will, I'm sure, be getting further guidance on that.
Yeah, this is one. There are quite a few that Elect will be issuing, has been directed by the General Assembly to be issuing guidance.
This affects us for the general election, not for the primary.
You can go ahead. This is a brief topic. Just currently, when candidates register, they're required to provide personal contact information on their filing forms. So this bill is going to allow candidates to use a unique identifier, not provide their personal address, phone number, email address on any required filings. And they are also able to now use a PO box instead of their address as their address of record, just because, we don't want people to know where these candidates are living. So, there's,
Moving you along.
yeah, we'll just go ahead. This ranked choice voting, this is not mandatory. This is discretionary. This allows just local bodies to adopt ranked choice voting if they want. And then the state board's going to set a whole bunch of standards about how that works. Again, this is just, it's permissive authority granted localities. It's not required. We currently have a magisterial system where there's different districts, and I don't know if there's any information to change that. So you can advance. All right, and then here's the constitutional amendments that I mentioned. First, there's a item on the ballot that would remove same-sex marriage ban. So it'll allow for gay marriage. There's also right to reproductive freedom amendment, which Jim notified me that there's currently litigation ongoing on that. So we'll have to take a look at that. I'll keep you all updated if there's any changes with respect to that. And then we've already talked about the voting rights restoration for felons upon release. But again, these are all just policy topics that may affect voter outreach or voter education, but they're not going to impose any duties on the registrar's office or the law.
You should anticipate that people will spend more time in the polling place in November. Many of them won't be conversant with these amendments.
I would say that, and I would also say that a lot of these are really important issues to a lot of voters. I would imagine that there would be high turnout for people to weigh in on these topics. Okay. What you all need to do is we'll need to cross-reference and make sure that our policies are updated where they're necessary. We may need to update our training materials. You'll all need to prepare to wear your badges on election day, and I'm very excited about that. If we need to get updated,
I have to buy the badges?
no, they'll be provided.
Elect in their dollars and cents summary said, oh, it only costs us about $5,000 to do this.
I think they might take it out of the 5 million.
Please.
Just kidding on that. We may need to request additional signage with respect to the firearm zone. So we'll have to kind of talk through that as we get closer. We'll need to request that signage through, I would assume, through Fez. So just give them advance notice. And then just any sort of coordination with law enforcement and courthouse personnel, which we already do all that. So that just might change what we talk about a little bit. It's not going to change the fact that. And then next slide. Yes, we'll begin policy training or policy and training updates. Be on the lookout for those badges. And then so many of the absentee and provisional ballot changes go into effect in September. So that'll have some changes as we're going into the November election. And then by July 1 is when a lot of the list maintenance provisions go into effect. So we'll be working through that through the next year or so, a little bit more than a year. Next slide. Is there any, that's all I have for you all. Are there any questions or discussions? And we've kind of had some ongoing. Okay.
Thank you very much, Andrea, for putting that together. And we recognize that that's not even all of the things.
That's not even all. There were a lot. There were, I think, 58 items that passed. So for your sanity and mine, I did not include them all in this PowerPoint. But if there's anything that comes up or seems to become an issue, I'll be sure to keep you all.
A lot to digest and changes coming to what we do for an election. So. Next item on our agenda, the election schedule for the primary, singular or plural.
Yes, I have it. I can't seem to print it out. Can I just run into the next room and go forward and come back?
Sure.
Yeah, it's
That's on the agenda. You didn't put.
It'll be at the end in the closed session. Security concerns. Wow. Yeah, that's my computer telling me it would really like to restart. And we're not going to install that update just now.
What are you into?
Huh?
Mic is on.
I fixed that.
Thank you.
I kind of wanted to have at least a general discussion, open session.
I'm concerned that it goes into our security preparations for elections, and that's why I moved it.
Can I discuss briefly with Andrea?
Sure.
Can we go outside for a second?
Taking a brief pause as we gather materials to continue the meeting.
It is.
So the machine readable ballots, the new, okay, so we've got a defective machine readable ballot. Is this going to impact undervotes in the precinct?
What it's going to change is hand counting.
Right,
So
so,
particularly in CAP, where you
Yeah.
see a lot of that, you don't
Right.
see this so often in the precincts.
okay,
But we see it provisional ballots, we have hand count for provisional ballots, CAP gets, mailed in absentee ballots that need to be hand counted. Instead of hand counting them, you'll be handwriting new ballots and then feeding them into a machine. Now theoretically, the code does specify that if you're out in a precinct and your machine goes down, it's the end of the day and you don't have a replacement machine, you're supposed to hand count them.
right,
I've gone over.
That's still going to be true if we can't get a replacement machine to them.
Yeah.
Or you could, what it tells you to do, which is the other choice in that case, which would be, no, please don't hand count them, just bring the ballots back.
Right.
We'll find a machine here to count them tomorrow.
yeah,
I wonder.
Because if you're hand counting 5 ballots, that's one thing. If you're hand counting 1,000, that's it's not a recipe for a good time
no.
or an accurate result either.
Hand counting.
But this notion of I had completely missed that this thing was talking about, oh yeah, you got to fill in ballots that otherwise be hand counted. I picked up the part about a defective ballot was it becomes damaged or something. Well, sure, no big deal. But
20.
all the ones that weren't marked properly in the first place, which is not a huge number. I mean,
No, it's,
even out of the absentee ballots, it's we're talking 100 ballots or so an election, but it is a very new thing.
right,
Why can't the board count the provisions?
it's not, I'm just looking at it logistically, it's not, it doesn't seem as though it would take a lot more time than or looking at them.
But it cuts out one source of error where you
Right.
tabulate your hand counts, add them together.
Maybe fill
Are we in a good place or should we be changing the?
it. Thank you. That'd be lovely.
No, I think so.
In your office or that?
We're now going to keep it as it is.
Okay.
I told her,
Yeah,
I
sometimes-
told her, I said.
So still no Jeanette.
See if she wants me.
Run down the hall.
No. Because they get.
Yeah, I don't want to do the next thing without Jeanette.
I have a bookshelf thing.
Well, while we're waiting for her, am I correct that the filing deadline? Congressional candidates is the 26th of May.
Yes.
I understand.
That's what I remembered, but I wasn't. 100%. So that's when we find out what the party is going to look like for the primary. I meant party in the celebration standpoint, not the political standpoint.
Yeah, it was part of the,
It didn't get printed. Lewis, it's available in the online minutes.
but Lewis, you can have, actually, I have a copy,
Okay.
you can have mine.
I'm good, thanks. Appreciate it, thank you.
Jen? Nothing. Rick, you still have your hand up. I assume you don't really want to say anything new.
That's correct. Let me just drop it.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
Why?
I can go on and cover this last item under new business, following the DS 300 with the P-log error. This was the Stone Robinson machine that failed on election morning. And we replaced it with one of the loaner ES300 scanners that we had received from ES&S, which had been qualified for all the precincts. That machine failed with an error that was different in labeling from the error we experienced in November, but in talking to the folks at ES&S, it was exactly the same error pathway. It came from the same place. And I wonder if the fact that we had different USB sticks in it this time caused it to fail at a different point in its process. But no knowledge about that. And we had a meeting with a VP from ES&S and our account manager. And in that discussion, we determined we were the only location in Virginia to experience a failure like this. B, they have, based on the help we provided to them in January and the machines that we sent back to them, they've worked out what they think is a working approach to correcting this problem, but it will still take some time before that's implemented and pushed out. And basically, it's a version of the error is a timing problem, and if you simply retry, everything seems to work fine.
What do you mean?
Retry and what?
So the software is attempting to write every time a ballot is put in the scanner. The information on the ballot is scanned by the hardware in the machine, and then several things are written to the USB stick. One, you update the public count, you update the private count, you store images of the elements on the screen that were taken, and then you update the totals for each of the election items that are in there. So there's a lot of writing to files that happens on that USB stick. And somewhere in that process, one of those files, it's unable to write to it. So it gets an error, it goes to write, and they believe it's a timing error from the way it goes. But right now, if it fails once, it stops. It throws up the error screen, goes, I'm done. We're done for the day. I don't have a public count anymore. I don't know what's going on. And we have to recount all the ballots in the machine. But they have found in testing that if they alter the code and tell it, try again, it works just fine. So it's a transient timing problem. And they've got a lot more testing to do.
But that's not something that we can do.
Has nothing, we can't do anything about this. This is something that we might see in updates to the source, to the ROMs on the machine, maybe next year sometime, by the time it gets validated and all that stuff happens.
And how would we validate externally that nothing has gone awry in the count? If
You never see it. Anyway, that's where they are. They're confident that we aren't doing something wrong. So there's a working theory that, or a potential theory, a hypothesis, maybe better than a theory. It's a hypothesis that it may be that in some large number of machines in a certain serial number, that's where all the errors are coming. They hadn't seen any correlation before, but as they get fewer and fewer further errors and all of them fall in this same range, we happen to be in that really good range. To address that hypothesis, they're going to send us 3 more loaner machines on top of the 3 we already have. So we'll have a total of 6. And
So we're keeping the 3 loaner machines that
and
we've got.
getting 3 more. And we open the question of, if this continues, when do we reach the point of we just swap out all the hardware we have with hardware that won't fail? And they said, yes, that's something we will have to look at. That's where we are. There was problems in meeting. They're very good about it. But it was us again, because the experience I have. I note this time that this had only run through was failed, whereas previously we were seeing 300 and 400 to a failure point. So clearly it's more or less random when it occurs.
That's a vote on than it should have, but I realize you can't print from here. You have to be closer. Let me print.
thing on the network, the government network here earlier. So that may be what you're experiencing.
So, just to finish up our prior conversations, so it's yours from the meeting that they are highly attentive to the problem and that they are actively managing it. I mean,
My bottom line was, I really wish we weren't experiencing this, and our vendor is doing everything they could to figure out what the problem is and make sure that we're not screwed over too badly. I think if we go into the primary and we see this happen again, then it's time to advance the theory that we got 27 other machines we ought to just replace, or 26 other machines we ought to replace. Let's just do that. Okay, back to the primary
Yeah, so.
schedule.
This is a work in progress. So what I need to know from you all is what training are you doing for this election? You gonna do full training? Training?
My vote definitely is just to do chief and assistant chief training and newbie training. And whatever hands-on kind of full pad training people want to do, but no, once again, I don't see any need to train all our EOs.
We had good attendance at the pole pad training.
Yes.
Should we do an SOR training? We've got an online course, but based on the SORs we got back, I would say it was sparsely viewed. I haven't looked at the statistics. Particularly with the primary, we'll have potentially 2 statements of results, depending on how that shakes out. Party standpoint might just be 1. You never know. Alongside that today, but I don't think we need to get all the EOs together. We don't need to get the big room over at the
Okay,
over the county office building.
okay,
And that's probably the biggest thing that needs to be sorted now. Do we need to reserve that space?
okay. So chief and assistant, maybe pole pad, SOR and SDR.
Oh, you mean SDR training?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see a lot fewer professionals for this one. What do you guys think?
I'd say no.
I'm always in favor of more training, but I agree. It's not gonna be an issue.
I think we can pass on that this time.
Okay, very good.
We're touching on a lot of chiefs.
Sure. Might have provisionals, might have CRs.
How'd you like the template?
Feedback on those was really good.
One, whenever, for the general, I'm doing one, that's two. So think of these as the 2 templates. So yeah, on the back, I'm gonna ask them to seam this. So it just becomes a flap. You just put the envelope in there and just shut it. So you don't have 2 pieces, you just have one.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so if they said they're not sure they can do it, but they'll try. So the highlights I just want to mention here, the first thing coming up for us would be LMA testing for early voting that begins on June 18th. Just a reminder, June 19th is a holiday, so that's on June 9th. You were I messaged you all that that's the one day that Tyler is available. He's available for us. So that's the first thing coming up.
That's the day that I can be only available for the first part. Sorry, I hadn't responded.
I think that Bucky has a conflict on that date.
A significant conflict. Yeah, I'm not available. So,
But you sent you said you will or have sent instructions, very thorough for us to follow.
I will do my best
Yes.
to achieve that goal. But I can't be there on that day.
You say that's the only day that
That's the earliest date he's available. Remember, early voting begins the 18th, begins following Thursday.
well, it's not a good day for him and it's not a good day for me.
Yeah, because I had it scheduled earlier, but he couldn't make it. I had it scheduled on the 4th. Couldn't do that day.
The 10th through the 12th.
I can ask him.
Or the 11th, we could always move the electoral board meeting.
That's true.
That's true.
I'll ask him.
But-
Ask him now.
We might, you on the 10th or even the 11th, or maybe, I don't know, I don't know.
I'll be a little lame, but I'll, be able to help anyway.
I'll just send him a message now because I know his schedule is looking up.
It'd be so weird having early voting beginning on a Thursday. On this calendar, what I don't see is when are we going to ensure that the poll pads have been properly configured and that the poll prints are printing the ballots, et cetera. Because we will need to have
You mean for early voting?
for early voting. Before the LNA testing happens, we will need to have poll printing ballots so that we can test those on-demand printed ballots as part of the LNA testing.
Why don't we do it the Tuesday before that?
You're looking at Tuesday the tooth.
Yes.
Will you have your ballot template by then? You're just getting your voters sorted, your candidates sorted on the
It's tight.
26th.
It's very tight. I'll ask if I'll have it by then, but
You might look to later in that week.
it would be Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, that would make more sense to me.
Let's make it Friday.
So poll pad
Friday the 5th.
configuration.
And then I will add, I'm gonna share this with you electronically so you can just see the changes. It's gonna be easier for
Okay.
you. And so I will add all of the dates about when early voting, when the registration, the close of books is, all of that. I'll add Sunday voting. I'll add that. We were, yeah, we have,
We don't have Sunday voting.
when does that start? It's July.
Doesn't start till the moment.
Yeah, July 1. Yeah, so this is August. So we will have Sunday.
We'll have Sunday voting in August of this year.
I thought that they put in
I think that one.
Bill.
Not in August, it's late July.
1.
They were making it effective with the general.
Double check, but I think it's July 1.
Okay,
That's my memory.
that's what I thought.
I double checked it before I put it in my billing template. Which, that's Sunday for a primary. They're just going to be packing the walls.
Now, we were thinking we go again, to start, have an earlier start or a later date for this election. How we did that in November, where on one day in early. Started
Yes,
early.
early hours and late hours. And I am informed by our crack early voting team,
Yes.
we don't do general election.
Yes.
No, but we do need to decide if indeed we have to do the Sunday stuff for this. We have to decide the 5 hours or more that we want to do.
It is starting to.
Yeah, so.
Thank you.
So when do we want to decide that?
It's the second and third.
Correct.
I put the question to the registrar when this. So the registrar want to have that.
I'm just wondering if we started at a regular time and close early.
That should be the 12th and the 19th of July would be
Start
Sunday.
at a regular
voting.
time and close early. The first 5 hours of the day is what I would think.
12 to what? I mean, 11 to,
No, the first 5 hours of the day. So it
so
would be,
11 to 4.
yeah.
Remind me of what that one says.
It is available of 5 hours between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m.
No, just 11.
Okay, I would say the minimum of 5 hours.
And
Starting
the,
at 11.
and the second and third Sunday,
Immediately
Or-
preceding.
That would be the 26th and the 19th.
6th and 19th.
Just for your info, and my understanding was the bill that originally put in had the Sunday before the election.
Yeah, thank goodness they fixed that.
Thankfully, somebody told them, no, we can't do that because we gotta be doing the poll pads Sunday before. Then
So you've got LNA testing for July 21. DS300s. There's another whole pad testing date you'll want to have, although we might not need it till close to the end. Making sure the poll pads configured for CAP are properly configured.
I have that on Sunday the 2nd. The last Sunday.
That'll take care of the precincts. But
We'll do that separately.
We'll have CAP come in before that in the week
Yeah.
before.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, CAP will come in. It's gonna be. Really until they're required to come in, I would suggest, I mean, we'll have to take a look at what's available, but usually I start looking a month before. So Wednesdays and Fridays are the best days for them. So on July 1st, we'll look and see how many ballots we have in. And see, they need that, they need to meet that early. Yeah, see if they need to meet that early. But we can,
We need to look at doing CAP configuration, CAP poll pad configuration testing before they can be.
okay. So
So we can postpone that
figure that.
scheduling right now, just
Yes.
it needs to be done.
So I have a conflict on the 21st for the LNA testing. Can we move it to later in the week?
For the three of you.
You've got,
Friday would be best for me.
you've got Tyler signed up for that date?
Yeah, I do. He's already booked for that day.
So reach out to Tyler.
But what date do you want to change it to? He'll want to know that.
The 20, I'm proposing the 24th.
Friday is likely to be hard for me from a personal standpoint, because if I don't go with Dee to her family reunion, I may not have a family to come home to.
How about Thursday?
Okay, I'll ask him.
Thursday should work.
Can you give him 2 dates, just in case? Thursday or?
Anytime that week, other than
So
Friday is
Tuesday or
fine for
Thursday.
me.
So you're already gonna be calling him about the LNA
Yes,
for
sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
early voting.
So that's just,
Tuesday is also hard.
I'm sorry, Wednesday or Thursday? Can you do Wednesday? Wednesday or Thursday? The 22nd or the 23rd?
Oh, right, because we already had it on Tuesday. Yeah, Wednesday, what I was saying is Wednesday, the 22nd is also hard for me.
Oh, I
have-
see.
I have something going on.
Okay,
Monday
so
work?
I will ask him.
No Monday.
Okay, so I'll ask him for Thursday, the 23rd for the LNA testing there, and then I will ask him for
The week following,
So the week following is all good things.
we can't finish loading the cages until we get that done.
We would move the cage checks.
You're not shipping the cages anywhere for a little while, so
No, right.
that's not a big deal. If the only thing left to do is put the DS300 in the cage, you can't do that till you take everything else out. Never mind. So there will still be work to do with that, but
I'll ask him for the 23rd and get back with you immediately.
Okay.
He says
Okay.
that doesn't work. And let me just clarify for June, the LNA testing on the 9th, we're not gonna do. I'm gonna ask him for the 10th or the 12th.
Right. Oh, unless, I mean, to my mind, I'm sure Bucky will be fine on the 10th, but, you know, the 12th would be better. Would be
Okay,
preferable.
okay, so I'll ask him for the 12th first. Okay. Okay. There was one other thing that you wanted to talk about. I talked about it earlier.
In the scheduling,
It's actually not in. On another item. Oh, well, I can ask under other items. Get that.
next thing I've got here is revisiting officer of election half-day shifts. The prior registrar and staff were adamantly opposed to this notion. We had some discussion about it last year. I raised the question because I feel like there are still a lot of potential officers of election out there who, well, let's face it, officers of election have an average age around what mine is. And for a lot of us, a 15-hour workday is a little bit more than we're capable of signing up for every time. And we offered half-day shifts, we might have more people involved. And it's still you're still talking an 8-hour shift. In this scenario, according to the code, the chiefs and assistant chiefs must work the entire day. And these folks, in some settings, you can have them work any length of time you want, but if it was just a having, it would be sort of a 5 to 1 and a 12 to, closing or packing up sort of schedules, or 12 to 8 kind of split shifts. Concerns that have been raised before have been, well, what if the second person doesn't show up? Which is exactly the same concern as what if the first person doesn't show up? So there's no material difference there. We had talked about having people find pairs where one person might pair up with another person. They'd agree to, work a shift together. I don't know. And obviously, to implement this, you run the risk of having all of your current EOs say, well, we just want to work half-day shifts. And so you immediately need 300 more people to sign up to be officers of election. But I think the pool of people we might draw from would be larger, which is why I raise it again. Discussion should ensue.
I am fine with it to do the pairing thing. And I don't know how much I want to publicize it. But if somebody says, can I do a half-day shift? The answer is, you got somebody that can do the other half day. Rather than staff have to find the other half-day person. Part of our problem with this is that the city does it, and people know that the city does it. And so why don't you do it? Well, the city uses less than half the number of election officials that we do. They would keep track of all the election officials, but I'm fine with it. People have expressed the concern that, well, how can people sign the statement of results?
Right.
If you haven't been there the whole time. The way the city handles that is that I believe the way they do it. Let's say the morning person will go ahead and sign the statement of results before they leave, with the notation next to it saying left at 12:30 p.m. And the person coming in that signs it says arrived at 12:30 p.m.
And you're saying that's how the city handles it now.
Yes, I believe that's the way they do it.
Can I call on the registrar or the elections manager to opine on this topic?
We have these in Newport News, and we did exactly what Bucky described. It went from 12 to 1 and from 1 I'm sorry, from opening to 1 and from 12 to closing. And we found that at the beginning, it was pretty popular. We didn't have problems with people not showing up. We just didn't have that. So it's just going to depend on the person. But
Did you have the people find their other half
No, we did that. We absolutely did that to make sure. But what we found is people who wanted to do that were they happy to be involved and they just did it. They did those hours. But as the years went on, fewer and fewer people did that. That was the result. But at the beginning, it was very good. So it was a good option.
So people shifted to working the full day as opposed to working just half a day.
When people who wanted to work a half a day stopped working altogether, they have been holding elections down for many, many years. And so they had those were the people who wanted to still be involved, but not as long. And it came time for them to quit. With all of the people who worked the later, the half shifts were older folks. Nobody younger did that.
What about in Henrico?
We just the full day. Yeah, I just looked at, we just need to double our numbers and everything, just to make this, work and everything that way. So that we have it on an even playing field. So,
One thing I did notice is that when we moved to half shifts, we really promoted it, made sure that people knew that it was available.
Rick has raised his hand some time ago to presumably ask a question, right?
Yes, to opine. I was just wondering if, I think it's a very good idea in many ways, because you're right. We have a lot of people who say they can't do it because they can't work all day. Could you do it as a pilot where you just select one or two precincts? You don't publicize it, but you have one or two precincts to see how it works in a couple of places, so you don't have to worry about doubling the number of election officers that you have.
I don't like that idea.
My question was, how is it handled throughout the state?
Hmm.
You kind of answered that.
Yeah, far more jurisdictions do not do this than do it. But there are some that do. Clarabelle.
Mr. Chairman, we've discussed this a lot in the past, and I would concur. I mean, there are two attorneys in the room, at least two. And I would agree with you. Signing the statement of results, I don't think you can sign something to which you cannot attest. Even if you say, I left at noon, I left at 1:15. I think that's tough on the statement of results.
Yes, there would be details to be worked out if we went down this path. Any other comments? Not sensing as much enthusiasm for this idea as I have.
Can we cogitate on this for a month?
We do not need to decide this at this time.
One more, this is Rick again, sorry, raise my hand.
Oh,
One
you
more
put your
comment
hand
about this. Yes, the statement of results, I guess I'm a little bit confused because it seems that realistically, the only people who would need to sign the statement of results are the people who are there at the end when the tapes are run. Because who cares who was there in the morning? You're really signing that the tapes are coming out of the machine and you're witnessing that happening, right? Are you attesting to something that happened in the morning?
So we're not going to take up the question of sorting the statement of results.
I would be glad to call the city and verify that what I think they do is what they indeed do.
That would be informative. Okay, then let us move on from this unless there's something else that needs to be said at this time. We've already done follow-up on the DS 300 and I'm now to other items. Janelle, you said you had something.
Yes, we had talked about the ballot order.
As in ordering the ballots?
No, as in how many do you want to order?
Percentage.
We talked about that. We talked about that in this meeting.
So primary coming up. I'm feeling like we don't need 100% of the ballots. And if we end up with two primaries, I don't think we need 100% of both.
I think it's gonna depend on what we get in terms of a primary. Until we know, is there going to be a 5th district Republican primary? No one seems to know whether Mr. Good, who said 2 years ago that he was running, is doing anything, and I certainly haven't heard any challenger to John McGuire.
You're asking me, there
There's
is.
a woman
There-
by the name of Sarah.
There are two people, Mr. Chairman, if I may answer.
Please.
There are two people running for the Republican nomination in the fifth. My understanding is that there are also two people running for the Democratic primary. And there are at least, as of today, three people running for the Republican Senate nomination. So, but that could change by your next meeting, and you may change it
Yeah, on the
completely.
Democratic side,
Somebody's
there's
sharing.
one real candidate and two, I shouldn't be saying.
Don't say that.
No, it's no good can come from this comment.
But two that I don't know whether they will have sufficient.
Well, they're either on the ballot or not, as of.
Yeah, so the filing deadline for all the races, except for the congressional district, should have passed already.
Yes,
Yeah.
now.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so the Republicans have three candidates.
So we will be having,
For the
we will
Senate.
be having two primaries then.
Yep.
So that answer's sorted. Again, I don't think we need to order 100% of ballots for each primary. The question is, what do we need to order? Do we have historical primary data?
Don't.
If memory serves,
We do have some historical primary data as far as the outcome. And that we have had primaries where total vote was 10%,
yeah,
12%.
and I'm feeling
The
like we did,
primary was like 20%.
yeah, 20 or 25%. And you'll have the same,
Absentee.
yeah. What is your, yeah, you'll have a lot of ballots to send out for absentee stuff. It's going to go up. Yeah, we got 2024, 2022. Having once been in the circumstance of running out of Republican ballots in a polling place and voting people on the express vote for the last 20 minutes we were open, I would prefer not to put folks in that circumstance. Fortunately, it was only the last 20 minutes. We had enough express vote ballots. It all worked out. But I think it was the 500 ballots we started the day with were not enough.
So for the 2024 Democrat primary, turnout was 7%. 5,865. That was for the Democrat. For the Republican, June 18, 2024. That's 7%. 5,680. So that was for the I can look at let me look at 2022.
Pretty sure we had a 2022 primary.
Well, there was one primary, was it? It's a Republican primary that ended up not happening. But we already had the ballots.
Yeah.
One where we accidentally sent out some Republican ballots to a primary that was not existing.
Yes.
There's a two were.
That was 20.
Oh, it's really- The regular House of Delegates ballots went out on the general election also.
June 21st, 2022. Historical.
So far ago.
So. It seems like, given the current configuration of the district, I guess I would be surprised if Democratic turnout was really high for the primaries.
Well, and I'm getting back to whether the other two announced candidates besides Mr. Perriello are actually going to make it on the ballot. They're filed yet. You have to get a certain number of petition signatures.
So
When do you have to put in the ballot order?
Like 5 o'clock on the 26th, as soon as the last,
Yeah, we have, I mean, we have time. I mean, we don't even have the media back yet. So we have some time, but we can think about it. And I can do a little bit deeper research on the last 3 primaries.
we do not have another board meeting currently scheduled before you will want to order these ballots.
Yes, but I can send you the info.
So in the past, have you taken the historical numbers and absent any changes, just bumped up, obviously up the absentee ballots, we know what those are gonna be. And then looking at election day turnout, can you take the historical numbers and just bump it up?
A variety of methodologies have been used, not all successful, because we have run out of ballots before.
Just to throw out a number, 50%, I would see absolutely no need to go over 50%.
I was thinking 40 of each party. So 40% of the registered voters as a Democrat ballot and 40% of the registered voters as a Republican ballot.
Which means we're ordering 80%.
80% of the total.
Pretty high.
It is high, but I'm back to that. I really don't want to be the chief who runs out again. I've been burned.
Well, better, as you say, better to err on the side of.
There's cost. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
right.
not without
I mean,
some cost.
Right.
But we never want to be in a scenario where a voter is or even significantly delayed. Did you have your hand up, Dr. Wheeler?
Mr. Chairman, may I quote former SBE Chairman James Alcorn? And I voted at the same time when this happened before. In his quote, which I thought was wonderful: "Paper is cheap, lawyers are expensive."
Which I think was said only in a loving way.
Right.
As all lawyers.
Oh, absolutely. You get what you pay for, and they're expensive, so you get good ones.
So that's what I would propose. 80% of the registered voters, 40, split that half and half, Republican ballots and Democrat ballots. And in the case of Scottsville, something reasonable. We don't have any Scottsville live in the primary, not for the town. So we won't see a primary. And then we've also got the 7th district free union. Need different ballots for them. Oh God. But not very many. So that's like a pack of 100 is more than we have voters. So the registrar should pick a convenient number to use for that. And I don't know if they'll have Republican and Democrat, contenders as well. So you may need to have 2. They may end up with 4 ballot styles in free union. So, but only there. That was the one improvement of the proposed new
Right.
congressional districts, was at least Albemarle fell completely in one congressional district. But we have what we have. So does that sound acceptable, everyone?
That does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me recap. We're going to do 40% for Republicans, 40% for Democrats.
Registered voters.
Registered voters. And then I'll take them to free union to see how many ballot cells they need. And then I'd like to
That 80% would include your absentee ballots.
is that what you're thinking, Bucky?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
So some of those will be folded. Anything else on other items?
Can I mention one more thing?
Yes, you may.
About-
That's what
We
this is
talked
for.
about for the test decks,
Right.
when I talked with Printellect yesterday, I was talking about that, and they actually have something where you can just go one to max. So however many candidates there are, the system does it for you.
I do not understand what you just told me.
So let's say if you have, instead of designating whether it's a 1 to 4 or doing that manually, or coming up with it manually, if there are 6 candidates, when you set if they can give us a setting that's 1 to max.
Good news is already it's sounding like we don't have 6 candidates for any of these races.
Okay, gotcha.
And the state has recommended a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2,
That's
3
what,
repeating
that's the
pattern.
last part. Yeah, that's what we can,
So-
just a 1 to 3.
I would stay right with that.
That's okay, that's what I put down.
That way we don't have to explain to anyone why we are doing it this way.
Right. That's good. That's settled.
Okay. But the question does obtain when you do the LNA testing for the 13, I guess it'll be scanners that will configure for the first LNA, where we're configuring for all the polling places, all the precincts. Is 3 test decks going to be enough? And it'll depend somewhat on how big the test decks are. If we only end up with 1 or 2 or even 3 people per race, then your test decks won't be that large. So 3 test decks will be enough. It was you had 5 or 6 people running, then suddenly you're at a 400-page test deck, and now it's taking an hour per machine to test them. So it's looking like we won't need more than 3 test decks. Unless a whole bunch of people jump into a race we're not aware of.
Can we review very quickly how many people we think are going to be in each? So there will be a Republican Senate. That's already set, right?
Should be,
Yes.
yeah.
And that is 3 people.
Yes.
Okay. And there was somebody that was going to be running against Mark Warner in a primary, but I don't know whether that ever materialized, so I don't know whether the Democratic Senate primary. One round up on that issue.
According to Ballotpedia, there is not. But I don't know how valid that information is.
They're pretty good.
But there is an independent
The independent would be
on the primary.
primary. And on the Republican 5th district, we don't know yet, but we think what? The Democratic 5th district. I'm gonna guess I'm gonna guess that one of those other candidates will not have official signatures. And then got the is it in the 6th or the 7th? The silly sliver.
The 7th.
It's in the 7th, okay. We don't know anything about his.
Anything about
We
that?
have that. Because right now, these candidates are all result of the null and void referendum. They're all jumping around saying, well, now I'm not going to run because I'm not going to run against my incumbent friend. Things like that. So I think everything is really up in the air.
Okay, got what you need?
Yeah.
Anything else? Then that will conclude the open portion of our meeting. We'll take a break now and then come back and convene in closed session. Thank you all very much for attending. Thanks for being online. If you guys would drop off, that would be wonderful.
The LNA.
We turn our recording back on so we can have a closed meeting motion.
Oh.
I move that the Albemarle County Electoral Board convene a closed meeting pursuant to section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia under subsection 1 to discuss and consider applications of prospective candidates as officers of election and to discuss the annual performance review process of the registrar as required under 24.2-1091 and to discuss the performance of officers of election and the staff in the elections office. And also under section 24. I'll give this to you. Under section 24.2-625.1B to discuss security with regard to specific local electoral procedures. All those in favor signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Hearing none, we'll go into a closed con. So to come out of our closed meeting, I move that the electoral board certify by a recorded vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion authorizing the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting. I vote yes.
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 There we go.
Okay, and I move the appointment of 18 new officers of election for a term of 1 year beginning March 1st, 2026.
Second. All those in favor?
Okay,
Very good.
and I move we adjourn.
Sounds very good. Our next meeting is scheduled for June the 11th. And hearing no objection, we sit adjourned.
My notes, we came out of session in the future.
Janelle.